Are you a woman standing at a crossroads, eager for change? It's time to connect with your authentic and empowered self at Boss Leap. Join Dr. Sylvia Morris and Dr. Angela Walker in this empowering community where real-life stories of courageous and talented women inspire and motivate. Engage in honest conversations that foster well-being, drawing from our own journeys. Let us guide you toward profound growth and transformation in both your personal and professional life. Here are your hosts, Dr. Sylvia Morris and Dr. Angela Walker.
Welcome back to Boss Leap. I am Dr. Angela Walker, and I am here with my lovely co-host, Dr. Sylvia E. Morris. We have a fantastic episode today. We had the opportunity to interview Tina Haskins Smith. She is an IT specialist that started when she was very, very young, and she is currently the vice president of Epic Integrated Systems at Harris Health in Houston. And she will tell us all about that, including what she's done along the way, her boss leaps that she has made, and there have been many and very powerful leaps. And she also talks about her most recent episode or leap, which was a sabbatical. And Sylvia, along those lines, tell me your thoughts around sabbatical, whether you've taken one that you would like to take, and what you think that might do for someone else.
I love the concept of a sabbatical. I was so happy to hear that Tina was able to kind of take a 9-month sabbatical and recharge and kind of reconnect and leap to this next opportunity. I think sabbaticals are underutilized, and certainly we recognize that not everyone has an opportunity to take a sabbatical. We understand that. But if you can take a break and you financially are in a place where it makes sense to do so, then by all means do. I had a sabbatical that was, shall we say, I was between jobs and was still kind of looking for a job. And I remember Jessica saying to me, you probably need a break. So take this time and enjoy this time that you are not working. Because I was so hyper-focused on finding a new job, I probably didn't enjoy it as much as I could have. However, I am hopeful that at some point in the not too distant future, I will have an opportunity to take a sabbatical. In fact, I'm going to put that on my vision board, which is the mirror in my bathroom that I write in grease pencil all of my goals. So we're going to put that sabbatical that is financially secure, with zero financial worries. And we're going to make my sabbatical international. How about that?
I love it. You are posting this on air, right?
I am. I understand that. But there are opportunities within my organization to take a sabbatical, but I am always open to all good things. Tell us about a sabbatical period for you.
Yeah, two come to mind. One was a transition when we moved from Texas to Georgia, and I had been in private practice up to that point, delivering babies, a lot. And at that point in life, I had been introduced to the concept of hospitalist, OB hospitalist. And the ones that I worked with at our hospital, they just were loving life. And I thought, oh, well, I could do that. And it turns out, you move to a new state, you have to go through the, certification, getting your
Licensing,
license,
yes.
all of that stuff. And I had 2 young girls and trying to get them in school and acclimated. We were moving in the middle of the school year. We were also waiting to, we had a short sale. We bought a short sale, and I don't know if you ever know what that is in a house, but it always turns out to be a very long process. So,
Short is not long.
No.
I mean, short is not short.
No. So long story short, it was about 7 months before I was working again. And so I don't really count that as a sabbatical because there were so many other things that were going on. But what it did helped me in the perspective of career is I was not delivering babies for 7 months, and I realized that I was so fulfilled with my memories of deliveries and my relationships with patients. I realized, okay, I don't know that I will always have to do that part of
You're
this
like,
job
I'm
to
good with
feel
that.
fulfilled. Yeah, I was sleeping at night and I was like, "Okay, this is possible."
Sleep's
Um,
important.
so it gave me that perspective. And then, of course, I started delivering babies again, and it was, the whole grind all over again, which I enjoyed that part, and I wasn't ready to give it up at that time, but at least I had that sabbatical and that perspective. More recently, I really won't call it a sabbatical because I have not stopped working, but when I went to, part-time and started working on, health style more in my coaching program, I had the ability to actually devote time into growing. So Tina talks in our interview about, learning and growing. And that was a time for me. When you're working really hard in a job, sometimes it's hard unless you are spending your evenings and your weekends learning about something new. If there's something that, you feel like you want to do or do differently and move into, it's really hard when you're in the grind and you're working not only 9 to 5, but 9 to,
You're
7,
working at
9.
home, you're working at work.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it has given me the freedom to dream and have that perspective, but as Tina mentioned, I mean, I realize not everybody can do that. I do have a supportive spouse, and I do have, savings, and so I've been able.
I think savings is key. I mean, I don't have a spouse, but you need to have
You
savings. You
do,
need to be
yeah.
financially prepared, and you need to think beyond, kind of your sabbatical moment for kind of what's next or what you hope to envision is next. You just don't wake up and like, "Oh, I'm not gonna work today."
Yeah. So so those are my experience. I love your idea of the sabbatical. So the the one where we can go overseas or
Yes.
international, and
Mhm.
that would be on my list.
That sound good? But Tina, brought up so many wonderful points, in our conversation as far as rest being important. She talked about kind of a career coach as well as a season of improving. So we hope that you enjoy the conversation with Tina Haskins Smith. And the next voice you will hear on Boss Leap is Tina Haskins Smith.
Okay, so we are so excited now to be speaking with our friend and just all around wonderful human being, for so many reasons, and you will find out in this episode. But Tina, we're happy to have you here. Tina Haskins, the current VP at Harris Health, and we'll learn more about that. And my all around IT person. We just she helped me actually get into the episode today. So, Tina, we're happy to have you here as always in our presence. And we'll start off by just learning a little bit about you. And if you want to tell us what it was like when you were growing up, what you wanted to be, anything you want to share about those beginning stages of life.
Well, first, thank you to both of you for having me. You are my role models of how you can do so many things at the same time while also taking care of yourself. So, thank you again. And of course, Dr. Walker and I go way back, and I consider Dr. Morris a friend because of through and Angela's friends. You're my friend. So, thank
Absolutely.
you so much.
So happy to have you.
You are welcome.
So tell us what little Tina was like, or young Tina, in terms of growing up, what inspired you, what you wanted, what you thought you wanted to do. What were those younger years like?
It's funny you said that because my brother-in-law claims I never was a young girl. I was just born and I was an adult.
I can see that. I mean, knowing you as long as I have, you've always been the mature person in the room.
See that? Because they're such a fun and, part of me. but I actually was born in Virginia, so I have very, good upbringing and roots there, and then we eventually moved to Texas. But to your question, I actually got into IT by process of elimination.
Oh,
So, if I had to guess, were you young and you wanted to be doctors? Is that what you wanted?
uh,
Both of us.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Only thing.
There you go. I was not 5-year-old. I was not a 5-year-old saying, "Oh my goodness, I wanna go into tech." It was literally high school. I took a computer class
Mm.
and fell in love with it. Just how I could solve a problem
Mhm.
through technology. The teacher was exciting. Miss Evans, I actually keep in touch with her still.
Mm.
And, I knew I didn't wanna be a lawyer, didn't wanna be a doctor, didn't wanna be a teacher, you can go down the list. So that's, good to share with people. It's sometimes a process of elimination versus knowing what I wanted to do.
So
And
you
are you and Angela high school classmates from Skyline as well?
No.
Oh,
No,
I'm
go ahead,
sorry.
Angela.
Okay.
No, but we ran in the
Uh,
same circle, so I know
okay.
before, college, but we actually went to got closer in college. But, yeah, the person that you see now is who she was back then.
Oh, and the same with Angela.
But Tina, I have a question for you because when I was in school, I had absolutely no computer classes, and I actually considered myself lucky that when I graduated from college, I had graduated before it was a required course. Little did I know it was a disadvantage to me for the rest of my life. But how did you was that just a random class that you took in high school? Because, we're a little bit older than these n the new ones that are coming
You're
around
right.
now where it's introduced and actually part of your all of your classes, using, IT. How was that introduced in high school?
You know
And
what?
I'm gonna piggyback, give us
Oh,
some
yeah, go
color
ahead.
because I'm thinking floppy disk, I'm thinking
Yeah.
DOS, writing that weird code with all the backslash and colons, the stuff that I didn't like. So give us some color about where IT was, and was that even considered IT in comparison to
Mm.
where we are now?
Yes, that's g oh my goodness, you're so knowledgeable on it. Literally learning on the, actual development of BASIC,
Yes.
Yeah.
exactly you described. So think about the mid-80s
Mhm.
and, with Bill Gates and Steve Jobs going at the same, time where we're learning BASIC I have to give kudos to Duncanville High.
Yeah.
He had a computer class you could take as an elective.
Mm.
And that's what's so key is that sometimes, in addition to, of course, the core subjects,
Yeah.
your reading, your math, your arithmetic, etc. It's so good to have those elective classes because that can spawn really a career. So
Yeah.
that's where it started. My father, who was in the military, very humble, career I won't say humble. He actually, retired as a, senior chief petty officer, but
It's a big deal.
yeah, it's a big deal, it is, but it's from, a salary standpoint. Didn't have a lot, my mom was a teacher,
Mhm.
but, I didn't know that till we were older because they always provided. He saw how much I liked, this class. He bought this same type of computer we were using in the class.
That's
What?
huge.
You had a
Huge.
computer at home?
I was, like, so popular in my neighborhood. So
What?
everyone would come and do their homework there, and, back then, that was
Wow.
at least, what, $2,000? That's a lot.
Mm.
Easily. I didn't
And
have a computer in my home, honestly, until medical school,
Yeah.
because we always went to the computer lab and college, and I had a typewriter when I went to college.
there
So
you go.
that's huge
That
in,
was
in high
huge for
school.
him. Yes, for him to see that in me
Yeah.
and to I don't know how they paid for it. But, I'm just so grateful for my high school, my teacher, and my parents that invested me. So I share that. So sometimes you might see things that your children are doing, like, if you can invest in that, you never know. Here I am, 40 years later in the field. I have bought my parents. computers and said, "Hey, I'm paying you back for
Do
Absolutely.
you remember, Tina, who said to you in high school, "Hey, you may wanna take this elective," or were you just naturally inquisitive and you were reading the classes and thought, "Oh, this looks interesting"?
It was a naturally inquisitive, and I needed,
Awesome.
the elective point, and you know
Yeah.
how that was yet again the
Pragmatic,
process of
yes.
elimination, and I was like, "This is interesting here," and dating myself again, I was very good on Atari, so I was very
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I was very good on anything that sparked analytical thinking, and so that was my thing.
Wow. Very cool. Yes, definitely you have your talents and they're definitely different than mine. So along the lines of important people in your life, you just mentioned your dad and your parents. Can you tell us about who you consider to be important people in your life and maybe lessons that they may have taught you?
Oh, just so many, Angela. I tell you, my parents, they were just very encouraging. They didn't, force me to go down a certain path, but just made sure that we respected two things, people and property. Just having a
Mm.
respect
Mhm.
for that and having faith. That was very important that they instill. Angela Sonia Ellis. She was,
Yeah.
oh yes, a big role model. She was actually over in Rhodes, Dallas, an internship program that I was part of, and I was able to intern with American Airlines in their IT
Oh,
department.
wow.
18. So just a lot
So
of
tell us, but let's not move too quickly by that. Tell us what your experience was at American Airlines in IT at 18. I figure they were doing a lot of booking as far as ticket reservations, maybe moving around in the aircraft. But tell us what that experience was and who there helped to kind of move you along or inspired you.
It was awesome because I started the first summer in the basement. Actually, when the actual developers were printing their code off, I would put it in this slot
Oh my
so
goodness.
they can get it. And
Yeah.
I like sharing that story because a lot of times we wanna, like, move to the top quick. So now I have a fundamental respect and understanding of starting at that level, and they wouldn't let me code until my 4th summer. So
Mhm.
I would rotate each summer in a different area, and that was the 1st summer, and then the 2nd summer was testing, and then a little bit of coding, and then I was able to code something my 4th summer. And it was
So what I
actually
am hearing is that you were able to build upon the relationship because you got invited back. Not every intern gets invited back.
I didn't think about that. I did not think about that. I'd
Mhm.
stayed there 4 summers. I felt bad because I did not go with American Airlines. I went with IBM,
Mhm.
and, because it had built up my experience, I was so, marketable in addition to getting my degree at A&M. So that's a good point. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then can you share with us your thought process with not going with American Airlines? Certainly that was a place that you knew. They liked you clearly. They kept asking you back. I would imagine they gave you a reasonable job offer versus going with IBM.
I think it was the perspective. Remember, we're talking about early 90s now, like 90. And it was the name, not that
Yes, that was a big deal, IBM.
that's
No,
a
you're
big
right.
deal. Yes, that was big tech. Also there was a slight salary difference
Okay.
and but you got more airline, you know, perks.
Perks.
Yeah, I
Right.
can't pay my bills with airline perks. So it was just a different thought process back then.
Mhm.
Now I'm more careful in my thought process about opportunities. At the forefront's not the name and it's not the salary. So it shows how I've transitioned in my thought process of selecting opportunities.
That made I mean, that would have made complete sense to me if you are the IT person, you're gonna go with an IT company, not just do IT in another, company. I think that would help. It would kind of probably resonate the same way with me.
Right.
And then here you are. So Can you tell us how that so you went with so we went from American Airlines internship to IBM, and then eventually it led to healthcare IT. How did you make that transition, that leap?
It's interesting because eventually I left IBM and then came back into tech, but it was in real estate tax. And I stayed there a few years. I was at a crossroad because we got acquired, and I had an opportunity to go with the acquired company or stay with the one. I said, I'm gonna take a leap, no pun intended. And I'm just gonna take the package and see what's out there. And this opportunity at Parkland in Dallas came up. That was the hardest interview I've ever had in my career because healthcare is like, you don't have any healthcare experience. Why should I hire you? And I had to really prove my skill sets that I had acquired was okay to actually transition into healthcare. And so the CIO that hired me, I still talk to him. He is still is my mentor. And he said, there was something special about you that why I wanted to hire you. But it's hard to get in healthcare. It was.
Now, mind you, to the audience and for Sylvia, Parkland, I know because I grew up in Dallas, but Southwestern, UT Southwestern. So huge healthcare system. And to be, there at that stage, kind of on the ground floor of all the things that, continue to, which we'll talk about a little bit later, that transpired in healthcare. What a great place to start in the healthcare IT field.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. It's been over 20 years now.
Mm-hmm.
So certainly when I think of healthcare IT, I'm always thinking about the electronic medical record.
Yeah.
And, certainly also the interface that patients use to talk to doctors, whether it's sending an email or requesting a prescription. What is one thing that lay people need to know and understand about healthcare IT?
That's a very good question. I can summarize that into 3 discrete steps. It's the data and translating data into information so you can make decisions. So I know it can be cumbersome, but there is a valuable reason that we need data electronically. For example, I can't search on a stack of papers and I can't do a
Well,
comparison.
you could. You just need a lot of interns to go through said stacks
Exactly.
to identify to pull it out of the file folder. It can be done.
It can be done, but can it be done in a very effective and productive way quick? There you go. That's a good one. That's a good one. But yes, that's where the wealth of technology is. And then wrapped around it is how you access it through the devices, through your computers. And the same applies for the patients. You having data and information to make decisions about your healthcare. And that's wrapped around the electronic medical record.
Can you talk about kind of ownership of data? I recently started wearing a glucose monitoring device. And I have all this information. It's on my phone. I'm able to make decisions, as you so carefully pointed out about that. But that information, that data, although my body is not necessarily mine because I probably checked a bunch of boxes in signing up. But can you kind of talk about what we should think about when we are kind of giving away our data, whether it's for glucose monitoring or that ring thing that people wear on their fingers and, even a Fitbit?
It is because I do think we check that box so we can go ahead and say approve and go ahead and use it.
I want my stuff.
You do. And really, the policy and the written information, it should cover you. If you were to pull that and really take the time, there's so much regulatory actions that we have to take in IT to ensure that the data is safe. You'll hear that data now can reside on premise or in the cloud. So the security around that is so important. There's gonna be bad actors out there that's gonna always try to penetrate the information, the data, and have access, and it happens on a daily basis. The thing is that we in IT, in partnership with risk and compliance, now it's bigger than just IT. It is a risk and compliance thing now. And with that partnership and seeing our vulnerabilities, we actually do tabletop exercises to simulate if something were to happen to your data, what would we do? We do that on a regular basis. So yes, you should be concerned, but not overly concerned because we are doing the best we can. We can't, of course, eliminate all bad actors, but we are doing the best to make sure it's secure. But yes, in that written information, it's going to make you more comfortable.
Okay.
So along, going in another direction from lay people or patients and inputting data, using the data and using healthcare IT and the things that goes into it. What do you think physicians at this point in 2025 need to know about healthcare IT?
That's very good. So when you walk into the room, who's part of your team? Let's say, is it nurses? There are nurses there.
Nurses, techs,
Medical assistant.
pharmacists.
Got it, like
In the hospital,
vascular-
I'm in the office.
What's that?
She's in the hospital. I'm in the office. So typically it's more of the nurse and medical assistant.
Okay, but both of you have said very good answers. So now it's having the perspective that technology is part of your team when you walk in that room. And I tell people I'm not physically in the room, but my technology's in there. I'm part of your team. And just like even with a real life person, you're going to have stronger technology than others. It's going to work someday and it's not. But that partnership is so key. I like actually having a partnership with informatics, with also at the elbow support with super users to make sure you have quick access if something isn't going right with the technology in the room. So knowing that, and also what we just discussed from a physician standpoint, is that trust me, we are trying not to make your life more difficult. That
I
is
mean, when they ask me, well, did you shut it down and restart? Did you enter the right password? Like those are fighting words for me. I'm always respectful because I am on a recorded line at work. I understand this. But if that IT colleague asks me one more time, well, did you turn it off and turn it back on?
Yeah, I agree. Now we are doing a lot behind the scenes to not be a help desk and more of a service
Or
desk.
no help desk is
No.
I may have said that at some point, not recently, but I do sometimes call it the no help desk.
That's
But
why
anywho.
it's important to round. You know how you round?
Yeah.
It's
How?
very important that we as IT round.
Oh yeah.
Very important.
That's true.
It's very important. That's something I emphasize as a leader. Are we going to be there probably at that moment that happens? Sometime not. Okay. But if it's something that we pick up on and we can be there on, in person. And sometimes it doesn't have to be IT. IT is not only the only people that are powerful with technology. There are your peers. There's your nurses. There's your you name it on your floor or in your clinic that are power users. They are superpower users.
So I'm going to ask a question based on what I sometimes get in the frustration from patients.
Okay.
And I just kind of ask for your opinion on the redundancy in what we have to do now with electronic medical records, because we'll have a patient that comes in and answers questions before she can even get back to, see a provider. And then she's got a set of questions that the nurse has to ask, and then the set of questions that the doctor. And for them, it's completely frustrating. And depending on the programs, and you may not be able to really, comment to this, but I think you might have an understanding where I'm coming from. Do you see a pathway in our future? And it can be frustrating for providers as well, because you're having to do this thing over and over again and making it more streamlined in terms of the information that we're gathering from patients to try to make diagnoses and to help them in the most efficient manner.
That's a very good question, because you want as much data and information prior to the visit. And sometimes it's about the language once you're in the room to say, oh, I see fill this out, and you go into more of the conversation, not to fill it out again. That's probably more workflow that needs to be defined because redundancy of asking for the same information, unless it's a regulatory thing and it's a separate.
That's the part.
That's the part, right. I can't, I'll never go around the regulatory, requirements, but there are a lot of committees that are being formed for interoperability where we can streamline some of that and have all of the regulations covered, but yet in a single format. So that I see what you're going, Angela, because we do ask a lot of the same questions, but I think on a positive, to get that information before you go into the office and you can assess that is powerful. I personally like, doing the electronic forms prior to getting there and making sure it's in the record, when I arrive.
It's helpful. That part is helpful.
Kinda, sorta. I'm gonna
Please
rant
tell
from
me.
the perspective of a patient.
Uh-huh.
There is a lot of redundancy, as Angela was just mentioning. So you receive an email saying, "Hey, fill out this form before you come in." And then some offices, they call you and they say, "Hey, please fill out this form before you come in." And then you may receive a text reminder of said appointment. They don't say fill out the form, but it's all of these, I call them encroachments in my personal time and all of these sort of dings. We get so many alerts and reminders that for me is a little bit annoying. So by the time I get that phone call, I'm like, yeah, I got it. Please. Thank you very much. I look forward to coming in. And I may come off a little bit abrupt, but it's like I'm just annoyed. And I get that I am probably not the target audience because when I see the email, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm going to try and get to that because I can't check in once you get to the office unless you log in. And I don't know my password. Forgive me. Not on my
And don't
phone. It's
write it
on my
down.
laptop,
Do not.
then you got to get a new laptop. So I'm going to stop my rant. But
We are the same people. We operate the same. I think from what I'm hearing from Tina is it's a systems issue pertaining to practices per se, not necessarily
it's not. I can't blame
IT.
healthcare IT.
I don't
Okay.
We both can play a role in this
Yeah.
because what happens is we implement the technology, we upgrade, and we have to remember we have to circle back around and train again. So sometimes we just put technology in and so much that we forget to go back to the workflow. Because what I like to do is start with the basic patient experience, is what I call it. They have a need, they need to schedule it, they come in for the actual visit, you get diagnosed, you're treated, you go home. Just 5 steps. So when we implement
You
IT,
may not get diagnosed. I'm sorry. I'm
you
an
might not.
internist. So, we can tell you what you don't have. I may not be able to tell you exactly what you have. So I just want to throw that out there. We're
Good
going to
point.
come
Good
back.
point. So imagine me implementing technology and how am I affecting those 5 areas? And do
Yeah.
we need to retrain? And now that I implemented this, do I have 2 things now in this particular phase of the patient experience? So sometimes we're layering technology on top of like technology or offering so many options that where we need to maybe narrow it down. So you have to work
Too
those work.
many options and it is decision overload. Well, I'm going to switch gears for a moment. I'm going to stop kind of
This is
haranguing
good.
on healthcare IT because it certainly has changed in our careers, Angela and I's careers. We've gone from paper charts like
Yeah.
this thick, going down to medical records to sign your charts or to do your dictations, those things to it, I can log in from home on my work laptop and see the entire medical record. That's life changing.
Isn't it?
So let's switch gears a little bit to how work and the lessons that you've learned from work. So you talked about kind of going from being in high school and taking that first computer class and then working at American Airlines and IBM and transitioning into healthcare IT. Are there 3 or 4 lessons that you have learned over the course of your work career, that you wanna share with our audience?
Definitely, do the work that no one else wants to do,
Oh, yeah.
and don't be fearful of that. Like, I always took on the projects that were like, "Oh, that's career limiting," and it never was.
Mm.
Um, be inquisitive. I am in a season, though, where I had an aha moment during my rest time. I've been on a sabbatical for 9 months, and then now transitioning back into the workforce as of last week. And I said, "You know what? I am in a season of improving myself, but not so much focusing on proving myself."
Mm.
Those are 2
Say
different
more about that.
those are 2
Yes.
different things. When I am constantly trying to prove myself, that's a stress level I can't even describe. It focuses on other people and pleasing other people. Where if I'm just continuously improving myself, indirectly or directly, I'm gonna prove myself. But the focus is on me being better, getting better, and making people around me better. So I had that aha moment just recently, especially going back into that I'm enough, but I'm not. That doesn't mean I don't want to continue to improve. And just surround yourself around people that will support you and be honest and give you feedback. That is very important to have that listening, that sounding board. And I've just learned that from my career. And don't be afraid. I love the title of your podcast.
Mm.
Because if you think about taking
I'm
a
sorry, what is the title of the podcast? You said
your
Boss Leap?
boss leap, because when you leap, the
Mm.
fear is while you're suspended in air. So take the leap. You're gonna feel anxiety taking a leap, whether it's a sabbatical or a new job or whatever it is, new opportunity. You just gotta leap and overcome the suspension when you're in the air of the leap. I love you.
I love this idea of spending the time improving yourself versus proving yourself. And for me, that has in the last, 3 years in particular, it's been growing in ways that I need to grow. And
Yeah.
so if I can improve myself and learning more about, the healthiest lifestyle modifications I can make to be vibrant and joyful as I grow old, if I can spend the time doing that for myself, then I can help others along the way. I just focus on helping others along the way. You get it doesn't mean the same and it doesn't land the same unless you're doing that work and learning things for yourself first. I think that's part of the process of growing and continuing to grow.
That is so powerful because I think when you look at a resume, it's negative in some instances when they see a gap, and
You always have to explain the gap. Why were
always
you
got to
off?
explain the
What were you
gap.
doing? All
Yeah.
those things.
I'm
Mhm.
being a better person, so when I go back in the game, I mean, last week, I went back into the workforce, and I never felt, oh my goodness, just 100% a new Tina, not even like a reset back to a Tina. There were moments where there were issues, there were, challenges, and I felt at peace and like centered. And it wasn't, it's just like a hurricane. You want to be in the eye because that's where it's calmest. Everything's going around you, and I was just walking in a sense of restoration while also being empathetic because I know people on my team or in the organization, they are tired. They might be burned out. So coming off a 9 month, I can't come in there like, yay, and let's go. And I'll have that energy, but I'll have it with compassion and empathy that not everyone can take a sabbatical or they're worried about the gap. in their resume. But I do know if you are in your purpose and the gaps, don't worry about it. Do not worry about it. And I try to run from my purpose during the sabbatical. I was interviewing for things outside of healthcare IT, and I wasn't getting them. And it was very obvious that my calling, my purpose is healthcare IT.
So tell us a little bit more about the sabbatical. What
Yeah.
other things did you do, whether it was for career or for yourself, that you found to be helpful?
You know, I
And
focus.
can I add on? I want to know kind of what led you to take the sabbatical. Was it it was naturally you kind of had a break, you were between jobs, you were like, oh, I've had enough. How did you make the leap to take the sabbatical?
I was commuting back and forth from Memphis to Dallas and then eventually Memphis to Houston. And just that
Mhm.
was tiring. It had nothing to do with the job. It was just more of that back and forth.
You
And
were a road
also,
warrior for real.
yeah, yes. And also I if I'm now that I have clarity, I don't think I ever recovered from implementing a huge EHR in the middle of the pandemic. I
Say
don't
that.
I don't
Yes.
think I ever got that
Mhm.
second win from the
Mhm.
pandemic.
Yes.
Because we kept moving. We haven't those of us in healthcare, we haven't stopped. We worked through
No.
the pandemic, and we kept moving because that's what healthcare requires.
Yes. I mean, literally in, Seattle, we implemented, Epic in October 2020, virtual, and then December 2020, the vaccination came out. So
Yeah.
we had to get ready while already tired, from an 18-month implementation.
Mhm.
So if I
And
had
when
been
everyone's tired, no one cares that you're tired. Like,
no,
we're all tired,
we're
so
all
let's
tired.
just keep moving.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a pinpoint of a moment. It was
Mhm.
a accumulation. And unfortunately, I think probably my last organization's got a more tired Tina. This organization is getting a very 100% ready to go.
But
Um,
that tired Tina works at a very high level and
yes,
probably higher level than ordinary people. I'm just
you
saying.
wouldn't even know. I'm tired too. I started unraveling around the edge and I'm tired.
Mhm.
So, yes, that was the leap. It was just time to settle in one place, not do a lot of commuting back and forth. I really was loving what I was doing in Memphis, love my teams. Great support, but I had to make that hard decision and focus on my family and me. I didn't use an alarm clock a lot. I just woke up naturally throughout this time. I focused on I had a family member and a friend that were going through some, challenges, and I was present, not only just present physically, but I was present. I didn't, have the phone going off because the system's down, that it was just good to be there for them. And, I was productive. I didn't have a boring day. I took care of my home, but, and myself and my family, my friends. It was nice.
Love that for you.
Yes.
Sometimes I think the sabbatical or the time off or the step away um, helps to give you perspective.
It does, and I do wanna emphasize before everyone's like, "Oh, I'm calling in tomorrow and Imma take."
Yeah.
Hold on.
Exactly.
Yeah. First, you wanna talk about it with your,
Yeah.
your family, your significant other, and you need to be financially
Right.
How
That
about
part.
that?
prepared, okay?
Mhm.
So that's real talk. I've been in IT, a long time. I've been a good steward of, my resources, and, I was able to do that. So before everyone like, "Tina said, take a 9-month sabbatical." I was like, "You still got bills." That's what's not taking a sabbatical, your bills.
You set yourself up for the ability to do so. So
Yes, exactly.
very good point, and thank you for sharing.
Yes, I have to emphasize that.
And can we kinda go back to some other things that we were talking about as far
Yeah.
as kinda proving yourself,
Oh, yeah.
versus improving yourself?
Mhm.
I would offer that early in our careers, there is a certain amount of proving.
Oh, yes.
or maybe it is about gaining sort of the skill sets and the confidence. And in particular, I would say as women, and then definitely as Black women or women of color, we have to prove ourselves. Hopefully, it's mainly to ourselves that, as you mentioned, I am enough and I am quite capable and I can hold space and do these types of jobs. But could you kind of talk about early career
Yeah.
versus where you are now, and then also how we as women can support each other better?
Oh, that's great. Of course, because if I thought I was proven just because I had 4 summers of an internship and a degree, that's not, confidence, that's cockiness.
That's real cute. Yes.
So you don't wanna be cocky, you wanna have confidence, but you do. You have to prove yourself, and a lot of it's not only through your technical or your craft, it's also who you are, proving that you are a leader, whether you have the title or not, proving you're a team member, just dependable. That is so important. So, yes, you do have to prove yourself. I actually always worked as if I was gonna get fired. And you know how many times I've gotten fired?
None.
None. So, just that mindset, it actually works for good because, but it also instill a sense of perfection, which isn't always good too. You have to give yourself grace that you're gonna make mistakes, and if you're good at what you're doing, you're gonna have grace on the times you do make mistakes, and I have. And, people know, well, 99.9% she's on top of this here just fell through, the cracks. So, you just yeah, you're right. You have to prove yourself. You can't, you can get to this level, I guess, at age 25, but, you've had to pack a whole lot of experience and, you know, I guess, support to get to this level that quick. I wouldn't want to get to this level at age 25 or 30. It's the proven that's helped me be comfortable at being at an executive level. I think you can get there. For me, I wouldn't have want this position earlier. Mhm.
So going back to that younger self then, 25, 20s, do you have any advice now that you would give Tina then?
Yeah, pace yourself, lean on others, and I actually wish I had kept more in touch with people in college in the IT, you know, business world and A&M to keep that circle of expertise in my circle.
Like
So
like
that would
mentor
be good.
almost. Mhm.
Exactly. Always have a mentor, always have a coach, which I've done. But sometimes I've gone through things where I should have reached out to someone and say, "Hey, I'm struggling," or "I had this bad day." So that's something I didn't do a lot consistently early.
We talk about mentors a lot throughout our podcast, and we obviously, believe strongly in finding those people. And sometimes, granted, they find you because of their trust in you, and they see the light that you shine. But you just mentioned having a coach, and I don't think I grew up with the knowledge of like having someone coach me to do anything other than track or swimming or that type of,
Yeah.
but in terms of coaching in your career and life, can you shed some light on what you mean by that?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because, Angela, your examples are perfect because I played basketball and track.
Mhm.
So why wouldn't we have a coach in our career?
Mhm.
Coaches are there to pull out the best in you, to direct you, to give you the plays, but you have to execute. So think about all of those concepts you still need in your profession. So mentoring, I'm more telling you my experience and I have someone that said, now I'm at the point where I give you my experience, not my advice. So it's more about you coming to the conclusion of what you need to do to be the best. Now, of course, there's a compliment of sharing the experience of what I have, but it's no different. It's not any different than someone being coached. Even LeBron needs to be coached. Okay. You think about if you were to just throw 5 people out there on the court, what are they going to do? How are they going to react? You're going to have a natural leader probably out of the 5. But what's the play? How do you attack the challenges on the other side of the ball? And it's the same concept, Angela. So having that coach where it's someone that actually asks you more questions than you ask them questions. It's really that. So when I coach people, I'm asking them more questions than I am telling them what to do.
And that's definitely the sign of a good coach. And for me, I would concur with everything you said for my program, Health Style. I've been coaching people all my life as a physician. In the office, you're coaching, but in the office, you are leading and giving people steps. Whereas as a health and wellness coach, you're doing exactly what you mentioned, asking the questions so that the person can come up with their own solution, because most of the time they know what works for them or what could work for them, but it's the coaching that can help to bring that out. And by listening, being empathetic, but not necessarily injecting or interjecting what your thoughts are, is the sign of a good coach. So good for you. I like the idea of throwing that out there for people in all stages of their career and whatever career path they have, of mentors, but also the coach that can help to guide you to become the best, your
And
best.
you also hear the term sponsors. So some
Mhm.
people will reach out to me, and when you reach out to me, you automatically put yourself on my mind. So when I'm in meetings or out or know people, I can refer back to, oh, you know what? I talked to someone that has an interest in that. So that's what a sponsor is also, that you'll hear that term.
Thank you for
So,
sharing.
Tina, before we get you out of here, we want to be respectful of your time. Can you talk about your self-care regime? And I'm in particular interested, since you're coming off a sabbatical, how did your self-care regime change following your sabbatical?
It definitely started with in the mornings, like literally, my devotion and meditation time. I think, when I was working, I would just fit that in maybe at the end of the day, but now I start with that at the end of the day and make sure I'm eating better. During my sabbatical, after I did my devotion, I would walk, outside if the weather permits. And then I would definitely have things to do throughout the day, whether it's with the home or personal. And that was key, making sure that I had, because I had moved to Houston, all of my wellness team set up. OBGYN, PCP, all of that, dental. So having that is part of my self-care specialties now that you get more mature, more specialty type of, care. But that was key. To making sure that I level set to the health and wellness. And I did a 21-day fast through my actual church in Dallas. I haven't found a church home yet in Houston, but I will. So we do a 21-day fast, so Daniel's fast. It was wonderful. And learning about the blue zones.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Very good.
Research that because how people in across different nations live to be 90 to 100 and what they do.
But not only live, I want to just not only live to be 90 and 100, but are still vibrant,
Healthy.
productive,
Yeah.
healthy citizens. So I
Yes. They are eating well. They are, what's key from there of how they have community.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
key. And when we went in the pandemic, there was a isolation for me. It was, even though we're on Zoom, but I was reading about the Blue Zone. It's very important to have that in person, collaboration. But that was key.
this is a common theme throughout our episodes, is just talking about people's perspective on their self-care regimen. And I like the fact that you added taking care of yourself in terms of your health care. So, identifying and doing your checkups and identifying the providers, you move to a new city, that really should be a part of all of our mindset in terms of our self-care regime. And we think of
Yeah,
all these other
definitely.
things that we can do, but that's really at the core of making sure that you're healthy.
It was
And
very
you
important that I
included
did go.
dentistry too.
I'd say that again.
You included dentistry as
Oh, yeah.
well.
Oh, yeah.
Seeing your dentist is really important for your overall health.
Yeah.
Definitely. Your gums, the health of your gums and all of that, very important. It would have been not valuable to have this time and go back into the workforce to only do the same thing. Really just reset, make sure I had everything in place as far as support, and go back a better leader and person. And also be a better, wife and sister and daughter. That's important to me.
Well, we love that for you. We're so grateful that you are here with us and sharing, and that you're at this stage on the other side of your sabbatical, well rested, and know you'll continue to do great things in this IT space. Epic, we are very familiar with and know the value of having a leader at the top of when you're implementing, whether it's changes or just modifying all things that come with Epic, which is electronic healthcare, and particularly in the hospital setting, so key. So we appreciate all that you do, Miss Tina. Anything that you would like to share here at the end, particularly any social media handles, anything like that?
No,
Fine.
you can reach me on LinkedIn, but I also want to give kudos to you for having a space that is well needed. Like I said, I love your title about Boss Leap, because we are always looking for new opportunities to leap, and sometimes it's a job, sometimes it's rest.
Mm.
But knowing that, don't be fearful of the suspension when you're going to land eventually on the leap. So I think this is just genius, and just look forward to seeing the great success that you're going to bring.
Thank you for ending
Thank you
my.
very much. Don't be fearful of the suspension. And with that, Tina Haskins Smith, we are going to say thank you and may you be well.
Thank you. You too.
Angela, we had such a fantastic conversation with Tina. She was just dropping knowledge everywhere, and there were so many things that truly resonated with me. Are there things, points that she brought home that you really enjoyed?
Well, as you said, many. And I do have to add in here that because we didn't talk about it, I thought it would come up as the value of sisterhood. But she did
Yes.
mention supporting each other. But as you noted in the interview, she and I go way back, and we knew each other in high school, but we actually went to college together at Texas A&M, and she was my line sister.
Oh,
And
okay. I knew there was that's why I had her as Skyline, so okay.
Self-Sufficient Theta Incorporated, and she's always been the person that she is, very supportive, down to earth, that grounded person in your life. So when it comes to sisterhood, she's definitely one of the people that resonates for me. And I think the value of having sisterhood or people in your circle or your corner that you consider a sister is somebody that wants to see you succeed, brings positive energy, in your life. She's not there for the tea, but she's definitely there to hold you down when things are not necessarily going your way. And so she's certainly been that one of those people for me. So that's one thing that I wanted to bring out because that's what resonated with me throughout the interview. I liked her concept of improving versus proving myself.
Yes.
And you brought up the fact that, yes, in the beginning, there is a lot of proving. And then no matter what field you go into, you've got to, prove that you're worthy in your field and you know what you're doing. But there is also, I think, even at that stage in life when you're starting, of always wanting to improve. And I think if you keep that mindset of improving, and it doesn't always have to be improving on the job, it's improving yourself. What do you want to do in your life that improves your quality of life, how you move through this life, and how you bring joy into your life? So I love that. I love the visualization of not being afraid of the suspension. So making
Yes.
that boss leap or career change, or life change, relationship change, whatever you're doing, there's going to be a time where you're suspended. You're not sure exactly how the landing is going to happen. But when you have approached it with thoughtfulness, and a conviction that this is what, I want to do or need to do, don't be afraid when you're in that suspense state. Yeah, and because I think there's typically always beauty on the other end, whether it's something joyful on the other end, whether it's a realization that maybe this is not going to work out for me, but it's still the fact that you made the leap. So I like that. And then she brought up the, career coach. And, for me, it's the, coaching in the health and wellness space. And I never really grasped what that meant. And certainly there's so many,
And it's health style, correct?
yes. Yeah.
Okay.
My
Tell
coach.
us about health style.
So health style came about from the idea of, how I was helping myself in terms of what I considered to be important and things that I've always talked about, from I think the beginning of my career of, taking good care of yourself, but finding what works for you. I can't tell you what exercise to do. It really has to do what you enjoy doing so that something that can be part of your everyday or weekly, activities. The importance of mental health and how there is an absolute mind body connection in how we move through this world. And I think, the pandemic helped to elevate the conversation around mental health. But part of the coaching has to do with, how you are navigating your mental health space, your mindset, your, behaviors that can actually help you thrive in that area. And then spiritual, emotional health, how you're navigating that, and ultimately, financial health, because we all know if we're not doing well,
No money, no honey.
it can affect, yeah, it can certainly affect how our mental health is and what we're able to do in terms of, physical health, all of those things. So that's part of my program. And what I have learned, in the coaching arena is that it is a lot of helping someone reach their goals by asking the questions and creating the space for them to really come to a lot of the conclusions themselves. And being
The answer is within.
it is. And I guess I learned that personally first before I was able to really get into the this arena, and I love it. So yeah, but I never, I think about it. When we were in medical school, did you ever think you needed a coach or a sponsor to help you, get to where you needed to be? And no, you just went to
We
medical
were just
graduate
grinding
school.
it out.
So I think it's valuable in all areas. How about you? I could go on and on, but what did you
I
think?
know. But before we leave this, where can people find out about health style?
So my website is drangela.walker.com. Thank you, Sylvia. My IG is I am Dr. Walker, and LinkedIn is Dr. Angela CB Walker, MD.
Awesome. Very good. And we are going to have an entire podcast or mini pod maybe on health style, because I think it's really important to understand how Boss Leap sort of dovetails in the health style, because our overall goal is to bring information to our listeners that helps them take those leaps. And that is a part of your overall wellness. But
Absolutely.
coming back to Tina Haskins Smith, who is an IT leader, a healthcare IT leader, she left me with so many kind of pearls of information. It helped me think more about how we too are in seasons of improving, as opposed to seasons of proving. And I think about all those years in working where it was a lot of me trying to prove myself and me kind of struggling with, am I the right person and in the right place and doing all the correct things. So it's nice to be in the season of improving. And she reminded me of the importance of having a circle or community and how that community can be a sounding board, which you all have always been for me, the girls, my fellow co authors and sisters from the game plan, A Woman's Guide to Becoming a Doctor and Living a Life in Medicine. Having that sounding board when things were going well or when things were going not so well in that season of proving really has been invaluable and has helped to really improve the quality of my life. And then kind of finally, the process of elimination. Tina really pointed out that, hey, we've known we wanted to be doctors from the beginning. Not everyone has that sort of fire about one particular field. And sometimes it can be, well, you know what? I don't want to be X, Y, or Z, but A looks really good. So not to be afraid of selecting something based on a process of elimination.
I like that idea, and try to. I hope that for younger people that are coming up, but also women that are just not necessarily satisfied with what they're doing right now. But I think of my kids in terms of you might not have the idea of exactly what you want to do, but sometimes what you're doing currently helps to eliminate that. And so I don't like the idea of entering into a profession because you've got great benefits and a good salary, and this is what's going to get you your house and your car and those things, but yet you have no interest in that field. And I know there's different thoughts on that, certainly. And so if you need a job, you need a job.
Yeah. And
But
sometimes you got to learn from having that experience to know that,
it's true.
oh, I did it for that reason. Because you go in like, oh, this is going to be great. It's going to work out well. And this is the path that I'm choosing. And then in kind of hindsight, when you're like, I hate this job, then you realize, oh, I did it for the money or I did it for this. But there are lessons in that too.
Agreed.
So,
Agreed.
but don't do it just for the money. I get it.
Yes, sometimes, yes.
We're gonna have to come back to that. That's an ever evolving thing.
I know people in my life that absolutely agree with that concept.
It's a
Right.
first world problem though, in the sense that if
Exactly.
you don't have, resources or a safety net, and the safety net could be, people, friends, family, then you can be motivated by money and having a certain amount of safety. And what is it, Maslow's triangle? So we want to make sure that we have home and clothing and food, and then you can kind of think at a higher level.
Agreed, and I do agree with that. I do agree with that concept. Sometimes it is those things that help you and give you the perspective, and help you to learn what your purpose really is. So, I learned something, and I sometimes change my opinions based on our conversations.
And that is
Oh,
allowed, and it's yes, and that's why we have these conversations here on Boss League. Nothing is fixed. It's great.
always fun with you, Sylvia, and,
Always.
we are again grateful for Tina Haskins Smith for sharing her pearls of wisdom with us, and to you, our listeners, we hope that you find something from this episode that you can take with you to maybe improve or inspire, and we would love for you to share, like, subscribe, and enjoy other episodes along the way. You can find us on all streaming sources as well as YouTube.
And if you'd like to see us talk about a particular topic, please don't hesitate to send us an email at bossleappodcasts@gmail.com. Boss Leap, LEAP podcast@gmail.com.
And until we meet again, may you be well.
May you be well.
That's a wrap on another episode of Boss Leap. May this conversation enlighten your path toward personal growth and professional empowerment. For more thought-provoking and eye-opening discussions like this one, head to our website at bossleappodcast.com. Always remember to celebrate your wins and trust yourself. A positive mindset can push you out of your comfort zone and into far greater heights. Until next time, may you be well.
Before we go, there's one more thing the lawyers have asked us to include. You know, it's the legal language, and you know how doctors love lawyers. This podcast is presented only for educational and entertainment purposes. Although we are doctors, on this show, we are just your friends. This podcast is not intended as a substitute for the advice of your physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or other qualified professionals. Understood? Awesome. We'll see you in the next episode.